What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Really happy to see you. And you might notice that, so things are going on with the light because it's winter and I'm adjusting. Honestly, I barely see daylight at this point. I have become a night creature, a creature of the night, and I'm okay with it. I'm really okay with it. However, nothing beats natural daylight. So I'm trying to switch up my schedule to shooting earlier in the day. And anyway, so that's a really interesting story for you all. You're welcome. All right, today I'm really excited because I'm going to go into something that I kind of made up on my own. And it had to do with, I was watching some video about, I don't know how we put this, but for any of you guys who listen to Abraham Hicks, okay, that's where this idea comes from of oh, there's two sides of a stick. At least that's for me where I get that idea. There's two sides of a stick. So if you want to be rich, then on the other side of that stick is you not wanting to be poor, is you being poor. And that often people are more holding on to the side of the stick, or I don't know if I like this analogy. I really liked it when she presented it, but now I'm Anyway, it's the side of the stick that's facing up is actually being poor. And so people never say achieve what they want in terms of being wealthy, because actually what they're more going after is not being poor. And so the more compelling story is being poor. That's the thing that really is present. And so that's the thing that perpetuates. And in the last video, I think I posted, I went into this big thing about whether or not to post a video because I'm not going to even, whatever. Anyway, but the last video that I said that I was going to talk about compelling, and this is what I want to get into, is that, okay, so another way of thinking about it in terms of oh, I want this, I don't want that. This side of the stick, that side of the stick. I broke it down into a really simple thing that was just what's more compelling? Meaning, when you write that down, when you look at that, when you think about that, what has a stronger reaction from you? I did this for myself on the Notion app. If any of you guys use the Notion app, and maybe I'll do a screenshot of just how to do that. But I just made a simple graph of a category in life, and what I didn't want to be there in that category and what I did want. And then I looked at it and I was okay, so if I'm being totally honest about this, what side of the graph is more compelling? What side of the graph gets me more? So to take the example of wealth, if I look at being rich and I look at being poor, and you really have to be honest with yourself and just catch those initial reactions, catch those body feels, it's what is more compelling? What has a stronger reaction? And so I think what you'll find is for a lot of people, being poor, the fear of being poor is actually more compelling than being wealthy. That people only want to be wealthy because it will solve them being poor. But so they never create wealth from that place, Or if they do get more money, then, they're they still feel poor because their expenses are now high. Money in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean that you have security at all. In fact, I think I read somewhere that actually people with more money tend to have more bills and tend to have more debt and all of those things. So it's just something to think about, And so what I've done is, again, maybe I'll do just a screenshot of kind of a video just going through making the Notion app version of this. But I've also gone ahead and made a Google Excel spreadsheet for you guys so that you can just take this and use it right away. and you can create this own kind of sheet. And what I have been doing is just kind of like, first of all, it's like a good place to get that all out of your head and to actually look at it and check in with it once in a while. Meaning, like, look at those things that have the stronger pull. So I'm actually going to pull up my Notion app right now and give you guys an exact so I called it want and don't want. All right, so okay, so yeah, for instance, I'm like relearning the piano at this moment in time, and so for piano, hey, whatever, it's okay, I can be honest on here. So on piano, under the don't want category, I wrote to suck. I don't want to suck. And then under the do want, I wrote to play well. And yeah, I think you can kind of tell where maybe like a stronger pull is. It's like even just in the wording of it. But this for me is really good because like it has me thinking of it in a completely different way. And it's like, why isn't playing well more interesting for me? That's another way to think of it too. It's like, what's most interesting? Like, why is the negative always more interesting? And do I really want to keep it that way? And is sucking that interesting? You know? Or another thing I put down on here under the piano category was like, I don't want to embarrass myself. And then I do want to impress my teacher. And so, like, you'll find that people who are really skilled or, like, resilient don't have anything about embarrassing themselves. And what I mean by this is it's, like, it's not that they don't embarrass themselves. It's that, like, they don't think of it in terms of that because they don't care. It's not as significant. And so in that way, it's almost never really embarrassing, or it becomes like this kind of like beautiful, funny thing. So make those things that you don't want less powerful, less significant, and start to think about those things that are on the do want side of your list, and why aren't you more interested in that? And how can you be more interested in that? And start cultivating thoughts around that. Start like daydreaming, fantasizing, like start building that up, because actually like it is really exciting when you take away the fear of all the things that we don't want. The other side of that spectrum is, I think, actually more interesting and has way more potential. Way more. Okay, so that's it for this little video. I just wanted to give like this short little thing. Oh, and then like another thing that I just thought I would add on to this. For any of you guys who are fans of Tim Ferriss, there's something around this. He gave like a TED talk a while back about when before he was who he was, and he was like really mired into his business and couldn't take any time off, and then decided that he wanted to go travel abroad and wrote down all of the worst case scenarios. Like wrote them all down, put them all down there, and looked at it and was like, okay, like this could happen. And I think he had like an exit strategy. So he planned it out. He knew what to do in the situation of every like worst case scenario if it happened. And by doing that, anyway, and that, of course, nothing happened. Okay, and the reason I want to get into this is because like, yes, I'm very into law of attraction, and I'm very much like into positivity and optimism and like creating through intention. But it doesn't always work this way for some people, because for some people also like the worst case scenario never actually transpires, never actually happens. And what happens when you actually look at something and you actually like plan for it, say, is you take out that significance, you take out the fear. It's not there for you in the same way. Even just writing it down, it's not there with you in the same way. You've compartmentalized it, you've put it somewhere, and now you can go off and you can actually like do the thing, and you can discover what's on the other side of that spectrum. I love you so much, and I hope you're having an amazing day. See you next. Bye.